Alright, here's the second half of the notes. This is 5.2, and this is solving systems by substitution. And think of what the word substitution means. It means to basically plug in. So we're going to take things and plug them in. Like for instance here on number 1, it shows us the steps up here. It says solve 1 equations for one of the variables, but I'm not going to make you go that far. We're not even going to do that. I'm already going to have them solve for a variable. Then you're going to substitute or plug in one into the other and then solve it. So what I know here, what I know is that y equals y. I know x equals x, I know 3 equals 3, etc., right? But because I know y equals y, and I know what this y equals, I can put it on this side, equals. I know y equals that too, so I can put that over here and substitute. And so really what you need to know is when it's y equals and y equals, you just set them equal to each other. Okay? So when I do that, then I got to start thinking, what do I do next? And what we've always done is kind of brought x to one side and numbers to the other side. Okay? So step 1 is set equal to each other. Okay? Step 2, well, let's see here. What would I do next? Well, you know what? Let's do 2 problems at once. Let's set these 2 equal to each other as well. So negative 2x plus 5 equals 4x minus 1. Now, the next step, of course, is to move x. Okay? You could move the number first if you want, but I think it's always easier to move x first. So I'm going to move x, and I'm going to put by doing opposite to both sides. Okay, by doing the opposite to both sides. So like here, I'm going to move x. I like to get rid of negative, so I'm going to add 3x to both sides, because I just like to get rid of anything negative. I'm going to get 4 equals. This is 4 plus 3, which is 7x minus 10. I'm going to do the same thing on this problem. I'm going to get rid of this negative, add the 2x. 5 equals 6x minus 1. And then the third step is move number to other side. Okay, so I've already moved x over there. I've already moved x over there. Now we need to move the number to the other side. We need to move that number to the other side. And all we do is just do the opposite of that too. Plus 10 to both sides here, you get 14 equals 7x. I think most of you probably know what to do next. Here I would add 1 to both sides, and I get, by the way, those cancel. I get 6x equals 6. And then the last step is divide by number next to x. So divide by 7 to both sides, divide here by 6 to both sides, those cancel, 2 equals x, those cancel, 1 equals x, and then the fifth step, and pretty important, is plug in to find y. And does it matter which one you plug it into? It shouldn't. You should get the same answer either way. So when I plug 2 in, right here for x, I get y equals negative 6 plus 4, because that's what 2 times negative 3 is, and I get negative 2. If I plugged it in here instead, I get y equals 8 minus 10, and guess what? I still get negative 2. So my solution is 2, negative 2, and we're going to write it as a pair of points, just like we did on the previous page. Okay? Right here, I've solved for x equals 1. Go back and plug it back in, here or here. Probably easier to plug it in here. 4 times 1 minus 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. But if I wanted to, I could plug it into 2 times 1 plus 5, and negative 2 plus 5 equals 3. So x is 1, y is 3. There's my answer. Okay? Why don't you go ahead, press pause, and try the 2 problems below. Again, look at the steps, go through them, try it. Pause it. Alright, so I'm going to do this kind of fast to save some time here. I'm going to set them equal to each other. I'm going to do both at the same time because I want to follow the same steps. So I'm going to move x, and I get 14 equals negative 7x. I'm going to move x. I'm going to move the number. There's no number to move here, so I'm just going to skip that step here. I'm going to plus 8. Move it to the other side, right? So I got 10 equals 10x. And the last step, of course, is to divide. And I get x to be negative 2 here, x to be 1 here. And then I go back and plug it back in. This is going to be really easy to plug back in here, because all I got to do is multiply Negative 4 times negative 2, I get 8, and there's my answer, negative 2, 8. Again, if I plugged it back in here, I get negative 6 plus 14, which is 8. Works out. Okay, for this one, I'm going to plug it back into this. Actually, the positive one, I just rather would do that. Minus 8, and 6 minus 8 is negative 2. If I go back in here, negative 4 plus 2 is negative 1. It works. 1, negative 2 is the value. And that is it when they are just y equals and y equals. You set them equal to each other, okay? And on your homework, A is like that, y equals and y equals, set them equal to each other. And E is like that, where you set them equal to each other. But look what happens in the rest of these. This is x equals and y equals. This is y equals, that's awesome, but that's 2y, right? This is x equals, that's awesome, but that's 2x. That's y equals, that's awesome, but that's a y up here. What do I do with those? Well, I plug them in the same way. Let's go to the next page here of my notes. Okay, and again, we're going to substitute one into the other. Okay, and there's some steps down here that we're going to kind of fill in as we go. Okay, all right. So here it says y equals this. We're going to circle that, and we're going to go plug it in where there's a y in the other one. Kind of the same thing here. There's a y here. We're going to go plug it into y of the other one. Okay, and then let's take a look down here. There's an x here, so we're going to go plug that into x, not y, because that's not what it equals. This is y equals, so we're going to plug it into y. So that's kind of our first step, is figure out what do you got to plug it into, right? So that's step one, is substitute one equation into the other. Okay, so we're going to do this 1a here together, where I'm going to plug it in there and have 4x plus 3 times 3x minus 4 equals 1. Okay, so there's the first step. We plugged it in. Second step, hopefully you can see, we got to do that, and if you don't remember, that word is distribute. Okay, so let's do that. 4x plus 9x minus 12 equals 1, because we got to times this to get 9 and times that to get 12. Okay. You can see here, combine like terms is going to be next. Combine like terms, which means add those together to get 13x minus 12 equals 1. Okay, so move number to one side. Letter to other. So what we did on the other side is we moved x first, but there's no other x here. So I don't need to do that. I can just move the number over here to get 13x equals 13, and divide is the last step here. Step 5, divide by number next to x. Okay, so those will cancel. You get x equals 1. Okay, now of course we need a point here. We're not just finding 1. So plug x in to original equation. And again, it shouldn't matter which one I plug it into, but it sure is a lot easier to plug it into this one. Y equals 3 times 1 minus 4, which when you plug in, you get y equals negative 1. And then your last step is write as x, y, like as an ordered pair, as a point. Well, here's x, here's y. Done. Okay. I'm going to have you come back and try this b in a minute, and this a down, it's number 3 down here. I'm going to go to 4 because it says x equals. But don't let that be confusing. We're still plugging x into x, not here into y. So this is 2 times 3y plus 1, okay, plus 4y equals 12. Nothing changed. I plugged it in there first. Second step, distribute. 6y plus 2 plus 4y equals 12. Third step, just combine like terms. Having a hard time writing here. Then I got to do the opposites here to get the number on one side and the letter on the other. And then I divide to get y equals 1. And then I go back and plug it in. X equals 3 times 1 plus 1, which is 4. And then I write my x and my y as my point. There it is. Done. Okay? Go maybe try the other two problems. So you can see this one here. You can see the other one there. I'm gonna have you pause it if you can and try and work through those problems. I'm going to get right into it after I have you done. Pause it. Pause it now. Come back. Okay, right here, negative 4x minus 6 times. We're plugging in again for y. So x minus 4 equals negative 16. Distribute here, I get negative 4x minus 6x plus 24, and that might be a place where some students might have messed up because a negative times a negative gives you a positive right here. Combine my like terms, bring the number over to the other side. Use a calculator because some of you mess up kind of your adding when you put negative 16 plus negative 24 or negative 16 minus 24 into your calculator. X equals 4. Go back and plug it in. Y equals 4 minus 4, which is 0. So I get 4, 0 as my solution. This one down here is going to go even quicker because that's just a 2x. So 6x plus 3 times 2x equals 24, which is 6x plus 6x equals 24, which is 12x equals 24, which there is nothing to bring to the other side, so go right to dividing to get 2. And then go plug that in to the original equation. 2 times 2 is 4. And there's my point, 2, 4. Okay? And that is how the rest of these problems will look. So B, plug x in right there, or plug this y in right there. Either way. Okay? For C, you're going to plug all of this. I'm just going to circle that. And you're going to plug it in all right there. Okay? Now again, this could be either way. Either you take all of this and you plug it in right there, or you take all of this and you plug it in right there. Not both. One or the other. Okay? On D, you're going to take all of what x equals and plug it into x, right? On F, you're going to take all of what y equals and plug it into y. It might help you to put a 1 right there, but really what's going to come of that is just 2x plus plug in the y. 2x minus 3. Oops, excuse me. Equals 5, and just go from there. For the rest of these, like this, you're going to have 2 times that y plus a, and then plus 2y equals 4. You're plugging that in right like that there. Okay? Lots of helpful hints here. Lots of good stuff in the notes. Try your way through it, folks. It's 9 problems, and it probably would take you about half hour to do this because it's 2 assignments in one. So do your best. Again, your assignment will be just this one worksheet. I will have this posted separate from the notes. Have a good one. Try and get something done this week.